Ready or what?
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, good morning, good morning. Good morning, everyone. My name is Frank Casillas. I'm a proud worker here at the Hunts Point Terminal Produce Market. I'm no stranger to working with Adam administration. I'm no stranger working with the Adams administration. I have worked with them in a large produce project once while you were running, and once already since he took office. I've been working this market for 30 plus years. I had every job possible in this market. I am now in charge of packing produce for large-scale events, and I even do a fun kind of a Congo produce line to get the packages going. Hey, whatever works. What fuels my work most is my passion to feed everyone. I was born in Brooklyn.
Right.
Brooklyn. I reside now in the Bronx. There we go. I reside now in the Bronx. I'm no stranger to the food deserts and the unhealthy produce options that some bodegas have. I'm very proud and very happy with the new administration shares the same passion that I have, including wanting to take care of the community from the ground up. Like you always say, Mayor, health is wealth. Mr. Mayor, I'm here with you. We're all here with you. Everyone in the market, this market, works together to make sure that our entire city will thrive. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for everything. Thank you for taking this job. Thank you.
Good job, Frank.
All right.
Oh man, you walk up in here and you could feel the energy. Someone called me this morning and they said, Eric, I was at the ferry, it was crowded. This was the first week where I had to wait on an elevator because it was so full, you know. And there's one important title of my administration that I want you to always remember whenever you hear that we dropped the ball. We're perfectly imperfect. There's nothing perfect about us, but we're committed. And some people have not caught on to the message. We're resilient, we're strong, we are dedicated, we're generations of people who have eked out a living. And from time to time, we're not going to get it right, but we're going to do right by you. And all I need for you to do is block out all the naysayers, block out all the noise, all the rhetoric, all those that want us to stay where we were. Stay with me and stay focused. We're moving forward, New York. We're moving forward. And you gotta believe. You gotta believe. And it's because we have the right team. When you listen to these stories of Salamanca and his dad working here, when you listen to the stories of 3 and 4 generations of pushing food carts, as I hear about these stories, you see the similarities. We may be coming from different communities, different cultures, different language, different backgrounds, but you know what? We're all New Yorkers. We're all New Yorkers. And so I want to really thank my team up here in the BX. You know, headed by my good friend, Borough President Vanessa Gibson. I'm surprised she's not here among us. Oh, where is she? You know, and just a solid brother who I really love always being around him, Councilman Salamanca, who's here as we can't wait to blow up that barge, Salamanca. We have Assembly Member Amanda Septimo. We have Assembly Member Kenny Burgess. Kenny, stand up, Kenny. This is the sharpest guy in Albany. And my girl, Councilwoman Marjorie Velasquez, doing some good things around the outside dining. State Senator Louis Sepulveda. Louis, good to see you. Councilmember Amanda Farias. And everything she touched turns to gold. You know, Councilmember Julie Menning, some good things with small businesses that are here. We have our chamber partners in Queens and Brooklyn. You know, just a whole team, they are here because we are excited on what we are going to do for the city of New York. And this is such an important moment. And Frank, I want to thank you and everyone here at Hunts Point. I learned today that my dad was a butcher. I thought it was here, but he was up in this area. I was just asking my brother who's around somewhere, you know, my brother looks so much like me, people yell and say, Mayor, you're doing a good job. He says, and so this team shows up every day. You know, we try to figure out sometimes why do we walk and see our fruits and vegetables in our shops? Because they're here. No matter what the weather is, they are here providing the services, and they are part of the essential workers that we have been talking about. Yes, police and fire and nurses and doctors, but you cannot telecommute their jobs. You know, onions are not in your stores because someone texts them over. They're in your stores because those trucks delivered them here. And I want to applaud them for their commitment and being part of the team of essential workers that we know. The recovery is not going to be about getting back to the old ways. It's going to get back to the new ways of doing things, and we're going to take this opportunity to reboot our entire system and make changes that are going to include equity and inclusiveness. How do we do it together? That's what we must do to move our city forward. And our amazing Deputy Mayor Maria Torres Springer put together the plan, rebuild, renew, reinvent, a blueprint for New York City's economy and recovery. Deputy Mayor, thank you so much for the work and commitment that you put into it. You know, Marvel has a Wonder Woman. I have 5 Wonder Womans, you know, and they're doing their thing every day. And our moment is here. This blueprint for New York City economy's recovery is imperative for us. 70 action steps will be taken to revitalize our economy and move our city in the right directions. This is more than just a to-do list. This is about moving us in the right direction and hearing from all of our leaders. I saw Kathy Weil, who's here, who's continuously talk about the growth between our communities and our business corporate sectors. Far too long, we've had a wall between our corporate communities and government. We are going to borrow from Ronald Reagan and tear down that wall. We're tearing down that wall and building the partnerships. Tearing down the barriers, building a strong and resilient future with 5 pillars. First one is to restart our economy and economic engine. It's almost 2 years since COVID, and we've come to a stall. It's time to recover and move towards restarting our economy from businesses to Broadway. It's time we get our city back in order to a pre-pandemic employment place, especially in the hard-hit areas like tourism, hospitality, and our creative economy. And this is what this blueprint and plan is going to do. And it's doing it by having a safe, clean, reliable, non-bureaucratic city. And that is what we're going to do. And this means expanding and intensifying citywide cleanup efforts. We have to have a clean city in every part of the city. It's a reflection of how we feel about ourselves when we move through our city and see encampments on the sidewalks, on highways. When our streets are not clean, it sends the wrong message of cleanliness is next to what? Oh, boy, we all went to church. And so we're going to do a massive new promotional campaign to bring tourism back, a multi-billion-dollar industry. We want it here in the city. Second, we have to fully support our small businesses. Many of these onions and other products are going to small businesses, to local bodegas and local shops and restaurants. We have to be there for them. So we're going to overhaul our city government, how it interacts with small businesses. It is just too challenging and bureaucratic to deal with small business, to deal with government in our city. We have to stop that. You have to almost be sadistic to go into an agency to just get basic support from small businesses. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. We're going to gauge our small businesses not based on how many citations you give out, but how many businesses you open and continue to evolve in our city. That is our focus for now. We're going to create new services, one-stop shopping, navigating. You should not have to go from agency to agency to agency. We should do the navigating for you so you can be inside your small businesses, serving your customers and providing the tools that are needed to move forward. And so it includes expanding on those new businesses that we think should grow in this city. Thirdly, we're going to open up new job markets and new opportunities. Everything from renewable energy to digital game development, and something that some of you are familiar with, but you try to act like you're not. We're going to have a cannabis growth here in the city. Yeah, I know what that is. You can sell it right here.
It grows.
We're also going to dramatically expand our booming life science industry, more jobs, more opportunities. In the last 2 years, federal funding and venture capital investments in New York City life sciences have expanded. We want it to happen here, and we intend to make sure this industry has the space, the infrastructure, the development, and not only be centralized in Manhattan. Here in the Bronx, you have amazing hospitals. We want to talk about Lincoln Hospital and some of the other hospitals up here to create the life science industries and have the space and infrastructure for it. Fourth, we must connect New Yorkers to jobs. Far too many New Yorkers are not experiencing the opportunity with jobs. Our young people and parents and communities must have jobs. And when we say employing people with jobs, we are including those living with disabilities. We are including them. They must be part of our job growth and removing the barriers that prevent that from taking place. And so that is the goal and responsibility that we have in accomplishing this task. And it's investing in skill development. You know, we're putting together a great workforce team that is going to invest in the development and expansion of jobs and expanding in child care. My Assembly and Senate delegation, I really need you for child care and how we get universal child care. If you want to lift up a family, you lift up the opportunities of having safe places for their children. And my Assembly and Senate delegation, they understand that. I'm excited about how do we move forward with earned income tax credit and child care. Fifth, we must actively plan to build for a better future. The pandemic has really responded, we responded to the crises, and we was just basically dealing with current time and not looking towards the future. Our goal is to do so. So we're going to assemble a new New York. We can't stumble into post-COVID. We must start to think about the redefinition of what our city is going to look like around education, around remote learning, around remote employment, around all of these new ways our city, telemedicine, how do we have a new New York? We're going to partner with the governor's office and put together a blue ribbon commission and define New York, and by using what we learned to show our entire country how we move forward in a post-COVID era. We will never be the same. COVID has changed the game, and we must be prepared to win in the game post-COVID, and that is our goal. And that economic future is going to be one that supports all 5 boroughs. All 5 boroughs. I have spent more time in Staten Island, in the Bronx, out in Queens. I am not a Manhattan-centered mayor. I'm a mayor of every borough in the city of New York. And you need to see your mayor in your borough. And I'm going to spend as much time in the boroughs that need the support of this administration as much as possible. And it's crucial for us to do so, and particularly around employment, as I see Jose Ortiz, who we're just really happy to have him on our team as he's dealing with workforce development. And before I hand it over to our amazing Deputy Mayor, as I shared today with our union members and representations here, we're going to put our money where our mouths are. We're going to invest $140 million in investment in Hunts Point's market. $100 million for the redevelopment of the market itself, and $40 million for what these electeds have been stating so long. $40 million into parks and infrastructure, green space. And that's the councilmen, my state and assembly delegation, they have been advocating for so long that they want to make sure that they have the quality that they deserve. And I want to say to them, I want to say to Salamanca and the rest of you, you would never have a mayor that's going to ensure you have the power you deserve. You're strong, I'm strong. You must tell me the agenda for your communities, not I dictate to you. And so Julie and all of you, Vanessa, I'm going to hear from you so that you can say, Eric, this is what we need on the ground. Far too long, you have been ignored as local electeds. No one is picking up your calls. Everyone is trying to dictate to you. Since I was a local elected, I'm not going to allow that to happen to you. You will lead your borough in the way that it's supposed to. This is the largest wholesale food distribution facility in the country. So we have to be the best. It employs thousands of New Yorkers, produces the fresh fruits and vegetables. It is 55 years old, and it is treated in a way that it's not receiving the respect that it deserves. We want to be part of building out this critical infrastructure of growing, producing the jobs for the future. We want to make sure that people live here and experience of having the produce that are produced from here and go throughout our city is healthy and is connected to the overall structure of producing food for the people of New York. And for my smoothie in the morning, I have a box of strawberries, and it's only symbolic of what is produced every day in this city. This is an amazing gem that we have in this city, and it has been ignored. And all we have to do is just give it a little polish, a little love, and a little care, and it will shine for many more generations to come. And so I want to bring up my amazing Deputy Mayor Maria Torres Springle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good morning, everyone.
You're the mayor, right?
As the mayor has mentioned, it is truly fitting that we are all here in Hunts Point to make this announcement. The produce market is responsible for 25% of New York City's produce, and the distribution center accounts for 12% of all of the food entering the city. And it's one of the biggest investments we are making in this plan. Importantly, however, it's also a community that has historically suffered from disinvestment and one that was heavily impacted by the pandemic. So we are committed through this plan to begin correcting those disparities in this community and in every community. Because our mission is to bring opportunity to every New Yorker. And I'm extremely proud to be working with the mayor and our incredible economic recovery team to make this blueprint a reality. Now, we're particularly humbled to be with so many partners in government, in business, labor, the not-for-profit sector, the philanthropic sector, and I thank you all for being here today. We know, of course, that delivering on this vision will require not just a whole-of-government approach, but truly a whole-of-society one. And so I'm particularly grateful to have our amazing elected leaders joining today. There's also an incredible team that really stepped up to the plate, and very, very quickly, when the mayor gave us his mandate to develop a blueprint, really did this work wholeheartedly, completely leaned in, but never forgot what was at stake, which is not just the well-being of New Yorkers today, but really it's about the future of our city. And so huge thanks. It's going to take me a second, but they all worked really hard, and so I want to name them each. Andrew Kimball, president of EDC, Kevin Kim. We can clap for them in the end, otherwise we'll never get out of here. Andrew Kimball, president of EDC, Kevin Kim, commissioner of Small Business Services, Dan Garodnik, Chair, and Edith Shu Chen, ED of the Department of City Planning, Vilda Vera Mayuga, Commissioner of the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection, Andel Castillo, Commissioner of the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment, Fred Dixon, President and CEO of NYC and Company, Claire Newman, President and CEO of the Trust for Governors Island, Lindsay Green, President and CEO of the Brooklyn Navy Yard, Chris Neal, Acting Director of the Mayor's Office of Workforce Development, Carrie Butler, Executive Director for the Public Design Commission, Sarah Carroll, Chair of the Landmarks Preservation Commission, Sheila Feinberg, Deputy Commissioner for the Department of Cultural Affairs, and the amazing presidents of our 3 library systems, Linda Johnson, Tony Marks, and Dennis Walcott. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now, to understand our current economic reality, we first need to look back to the years and months before the pandemic. So 2 years ago, around this time in 2020, our overall economy was strong and it was growing. Unemployment was at an all-time low of 3.7%. The citywide poverty rate was about 17.9%, still way too high, but the lowest in 20 years. Now, much has changed since then. New York has 400,000 fewer jobs today than we did 2 years ago, and close to 30,000 businesses have closed permanently. So we believe that the investments and the initiatives in this blueprint will accelerate the economy and help us more quickly return to the pre-pandemic employment rates of our city. But as the mayor said, if all we do is return to the economy that existed in February of 2020, we will not have truly delivered for all New Yorkers. And that's because the pre-pandemic prosperity was really not shared equally. Unemployment, for example, was over twice as high for Black residents as white residents, and over 1.5 times as high for our Latino residents. Now, these gaps have only gotten worse, with unemployment among Black New Yorkers currently at 15%, more than 3 times the national average. And so with that in mind, we have designed this blueprint for an intentional, equitable, and comprehensive economic recovery. As the mayor mentioned, there are more than 70 initiatives in this blueprint, and I encourage everyone to go to nyc.gov/economic blueprint and view the entire plan. But I did just want to highlight a few more initiatives, in addition to what the mayor mentioned, that we believe will have a strong impact for our communities. Of course, we have to start by reinvigorating our culture and hospitality industries. And we will do that by providing support for artists and small cultural institutions, by developing a new cultural district in Governor's Island and expanding our marketing campaign to attract tourists back to the city, workers back to the offices. We will advance a very aggressive package of small business supports. This includes cutting opening times in half, waiving fees, reforming licensing requirements, and eliminating the city's 25% surcharge on liquor licenses, which will really benefit venues and restaurants across the city. We're going to make long overdue changes to the city's MWBE program so that we can increase both the size and the number of city contracts going to our city's diverse firms. We're also focusing, as the mayor mentioned, on emerging and rapidly growing industries, whether that's building out an advanced manufacturing industry, expanding our tech training education programs, strengthening and diversifying our city's film and TV industry, increasing supports for life sciences, tech, our green economy. But we all know that there is no growth if we don't invest in our workers. And we will do that by embracing a citywide early education to adult approach to talent development, by providing better financial empowerment and worker protections. It's going to be no small feat, but our goal is to revamp our public workforce system so that it works harder and better for New Yorkers looking for skilled training and for jobs. And finally, we will be planning and building the future city in ways that center inclusion and resiliency. As the mayor mentioned, we'll be convening a blue ribbon panel with the state to tackle some of the biggest questions about our future city and also align on the actions that we have to take together. We will speed up, this is one of my favorites, we will speed up our internal city processes around planning and building in the city. It's an initiative whose acronym is BLAST, that stands for, wait for it, Building and Land Use Approval Streamlining Task Force. It's very exciting, very exciting. We need to do this because we have to make sure we aren't slowing down our economic recovery. We're going to plan for emerging hubs across the 5 boroughs to bring jobs closer to residents, especially those with the longest and most burdensome commutes. And we'll do that in close partnership with our state partners as they plan transit improvements. We're going to make sure we're thinking holistically about creating low-cost housing options in neighborhoods across the city, because addressing our housing crisis is integral to our economic success. And we're going to launch a new program called the NYC Seed Fund. This is Dan Gorodnick's brainchild, which stands for Strategy for Equity and Economic Development. It's really a new capital investment framework to address our infrastructure needs to support growth and really prioritize equity outcomes across the 5 boroughs. And finally, I too am extremely excited about this. So much work has gone into, where's Claire Newman? There you are, Claire. We'll be releasing this spring a request for proposals for a new academic anchor for the Center for Climate Solutions on Governor's Island. And so we will do for Governor's Island and the city and climate what the Cornell Technion campus on Roosevelt Island has done for applied sciences and for our city. And as the mayor said, we're perfectly imperfect. And so for its 70 initiatives, we hope it is a strong start. We will keep adding, of course, to the blueprint and look to all of you for new and innovative ways to drive our city's recovery. I want to end by just reiterating that I'm extremely excited about this work, and I'm really grateful to the mayor for entrusting all of us with not just developing some of these ideas, but working in partnership with many people in this room and across the city. More than 300 stakeholders were part of the ideas embodied in this blueprint. And we all know that, and hope and believe, that this is a plan that is not just about putting the entire force of city government, but really the entire force of leaders across different sectors behind this mission to accelerate our recovery. It's a plan that invests in our workers, in our buildings, in our neighborhoods, and in our companies. And it's about strengthening the economic security of our people and the economic future of our city. We all know that we have experienced considerable struggle and loss over the last 2 years, but there has never been a more urgent time for New York to serve as a model for equitable recovery. And what better time to take up this mantle than now, as the city continues to reopen and re-emerge from the pandemic. And so we have to bring our full resources to bear, and we have to call on every New Yorker to be a drum major for our recovery. So thanks to all of you. Let me turn it back to the mayor.
So before we open for questions, we want to turn it over to our councilman to speak on behalf of the electors in the Bronx. We're in his district. And we just want him to say a few words before we turn it open to any questions you may have. Thank you, brother.
All right, good morning, Hunts Point. Good morning, Hunts Point. It's Hunts Point in the house. Yeah. I am extremely excited to be here today with you, Mr. Mayor. I'm excited to be here with my colleagues in government in the state and the city, and the Bronx Borough President as well. I have to say that the market means the world to me. For those of you that don't know or are getting to know now, my dad worked in the Hunts Point market for 18 years. He brought me to work with him during the summer when I was a young adolescent at 3, 4 in the morning. I saw my dad get up very early in the morning to come to work, get home around 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, try to help out in the household, go back to sleep, get up again at 2 in the morning to be here again at 3 in the morning. It was because of the well-paying job that my dad had here as a member of Teamsters Local 202. Yes, we have to give a big shout out to Local 202. That we had food on our table. It wasn't because of this good paying job that my dad here in the Hunts Point produce market that I was able to go to the doctor and get my glasses, see the dentist, get my medical care from my mom and my sister, so on and so forth. So I want to thank the leadership here in the market. I want to thank Local 202 for always standing up and ensuring that residents in Hunts Point and in the Bronx are actually getting good paying jobs. Yeah. When COVID hit 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, we saw that food was scarce. Many people were hoarding food. The shelves in the supermarket were empty. And immediately, I started reaching out to my partners here in Hunts Point. And the Hunts Point market stepped up big. I have to give it to the entire Hunts Point market. And most importantly, I also have to give a big shout out to the DeRigo family for really stepping up. We were able to do over 60 food events. We fed over 65,000 people in Hunts Point, my office alone, in partnership with these markets. And we were not just giving regular food, we were giving good, decent food. And I can tell you, one of my first food distributions that I did was in the Michelangelo homes, and I needed masks. And the first person that came to help was then Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams, who came and helped me distribute this food. I want to thank you, Mr. Mayor, for that. And so here you are, the mayor of the city of New York. You heard our cries. You heard exactly what we need. And what we need is we need a facelift for this market. If we want these businesses to continue to provide this type of service for New Yorkers and the tri-state area, we need to ensure that they have an upgraded facility. And that's what this announcement does. I'm excited to hear that you're allocating $100 million to the Hunts Point markets and another $40 million to the Hunts Point Forward Plan. I thank you for your commitment. Can I say something in Spanish? Yeah. Brevemente en español, me llamo Rafael Salamanca Jr., yo soy concejal de la área. Le quiero dar las gracias al alcalde Eric Adams por el anuncio que él está haciendo hoy aquí, que está alocando más de $100 millones para el Hunts Point Market. Para todos que ustedes sepan, yo soy nacido y criado en esta comunidad. Y mi papá trabajó aquí por 18 años. Y era por este trabajo, por un miembro del Teamsters Local 202, que él podía proveer para mi familia. Cuando el COVID-19 nos dio a nuestra comunidad, fue la marqueta que me llamó. La marqueta y también la compañía de Rigo, que me ayudó de hacer más de 60 eventos para darle alimentación, fruta, vegetación a nuestras comunidades. Estoy aquí para darle las gracias al alcalde, darle las gracias a las agencias, pero más importante, darle las gracias a cada uno de ustedes que trabajan aquí y se aseguran que nosotros los neoyorquinos estamos comiendo bien. Que Dios lo bendiga. Gracias.
You know, I don't know if you can tell right now, because it's only been about 3 months. I'm not sure if you can really notice, but I love being mayor.
Morning, Mr. Mayor.
Good morning.
I'll keep it quick because it's chilly in here. So you saw our series of stories on the shelters and the problems, the holes in the shelter system, and the shocking things that people who live there were telling us, that the basics weren't available, security was a real problem. I'm sure you read those stories, right? So what these people were telling us was, the most shocking was that mental health services are not available on site now none of the ones I went to and talked to people, but specifically in the safe haven ones, those are the shelters for chronically homeless people. Fewer than half of those shelters have any kind of mental health services, and just 3 out of the 200 family shelters have any on-site. And when I was asking them, well, what do you do when you go to them and say, I'm having a mental health crisis here, I'm out of medication and I need to see somebody, he said they gave him a Metro card, which most of these people...
You redefined determination, the definition of a short question. That was so, no, but seriously, unacceptable. And I'm going to visit some of those sites. I'll speak with you after so you can identify some of those locations for me. And I'm going to do some pop-up visits. Unacceptable. And we have to do better. But let's be clear. Our shelters must be a safe haven. We believe that the countless number of them are doing a great job. I'm really proud of the leadership there. I don't want people sleeping on side of the roads. As I drove up here, I saw people having encampments on the side of the roads. That's an indictment, and we have to do better. There's no getting around it. We have to lean into places that we are failing, and we must improve on them. And every time you and other men and women of the media point these issues out, we are going to address them. We are not going to run away from our failures. We must do better. Yeah, you should ask that.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor. How are you?
Yes, good morning.
How dependent are these 70 points and the city's broader economic recovery? How dependent is this on a return to 5-day work weeks in places like Midtown and Lower Manhattan?
That was part of what the deputy mayor stated, that cycling out of COVID is going to be a different work week. And we're not clear what it's going to look like, particularly some of the men and women in the tech industry. They're operating differently. I had a meeting with a lot of, about 20-something business leaders talking about how to get people back in office space. So I think your question is a good one. It is going to take us some time before we define what COVID is going to look like. But 5-day work week or not, we have to look at the 70 items that the deputy mayor outlined and talk about how do we ensure everyone enjoy the prosperity of the city opening. And no matter if you're in the office or not, you're going to need the onions. You're going to need the cantaloupe. You're going to need the food that's come out of Hunts Point's market. But we're going to factor all of this in on what the new work environment looks like. Uh-oh.
I got a couple of quick on topics. First, on the $100 million in infrastructure here, could you just drill down a little bit and give us some more detail on that? And I mean, I got one more question on. You mentioned, weed distribution before, marijuana distribution as being a new opportunity. Now, I want to ask you, do you think that people with weed convictions in the past should be kind of first in line for getting licenses to do that? And does that present like a political problem?
The deputy mayor is going to talk about she's going to give you a short version of, with $100 million, and she'll do a follow-up, and it's in the blueprint. But I want to talk about those who are sort of part of the legacy project, those who had prior conviction because of heavy-handed policing in many of the communities. Yes, they should be front in line to receive some of the licensing, but we need to go throughout the entire process. We don't want just to be those individuals to be part of selling. They should be front in line growing, front in line in every aspect of it. We unfairly targeted black and brown communities during the marijuana heavy-handed arrests that I fought against when I was a police officer, and we can't go back to those days, and they should be front in line. We should also improve their credit reports if they were arrested. We should have job training for them. We need to make them whole, and it's more than just, are you front in line for it?
Are you concerned at all about, kind of like money corporate types using those folks as kind of like a front to get in the front of the line to get those?
Yes, I am. I think I'm going to continue to speak with Tremaine Wright, who has a major role. I'm going to speak with my lawmakers in Albany. I don't recall one corporate executive being stopped on Tremont Avenue and have someone going through their pocket and pulling out a joint and then locking them up. So they were not front in line in the perp walk. They should not be front in line and benefiting from the cannabis industry. It needs to go back in the communities that were hurt the hardest, and that is what we need to focus on.
So the $100 million is a contribution towards what will be the ultimate full redevelopment of the produce market. It's a 55-year-old facility. It's amazing. It's really important for our food security. It is a job anchor, and it's outdated. And so our work ahead with our local elected leaders, with the amazing leaders of the produce market, both labor and management, and other levels of government, is put together the right type of plan that finally unlocks the true potential of this facility. So more to come in the months ahead, but it has taken more than a generation for the stars to align, to have the will, to have the funding, and we're going to make it happen.
So you go off.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you about the teen rapper C. Blue. I mean, you're aware of this case that the kid got arrested on a gun charge. The gun went off, shot himself, shot the cop. Are you still outraged that he was released on bail, given kind of what's come out in light now in court? And do you feel misled at all by the NYPD on the circumstances surrounding his arrest? And do you feel that? Sorry for the run-on sentence here.
That's why I said, uh-oh.
Does his case still serve to you as like a justification to include a dangerousness provision in bail law?
So let's peel this back in layers. That young man was shot because he had an illegal gun. That's why he was shot. That police officer was shot because that young man had an illegal gun for the second time. Let's be clear. This was not the first time. This is the second time he had an illegal gun. Now, it may be me, but I have a problem with that. What we're doing today is we're saying, instead of that young man having an illegal gun, we want to give him a legal opportunity to be in our society. So if anyone states that my police officers are going out, putting their lives on the line to remove illegal guns off the street, is at fault, I challenge that. It's a dangerous job removing illegal guns off our street. And here in the Bronx, the number of illegal guns on the streets of the Bronx, what these elected officials are trying to stop, it's horrendous. And we're going to get it right. We're going to have the right resources. We're going to have the right training. We're going to get it right. We can have public safety and justice, and that is what I'm going to do as the mayor. Hold on, because I don't want him writing saying that I avoided his question, you know?
Does the illegal gun, now the judge, I feel like suggested that the arrest was, that the stop was flawed. Does the illegal gun justify a flawed stop? I don't know.
No, we have to follow. A police officer can't break the law to enforce the law. I don't believe those officers broke the law. I think those officers were aware from a previous arrest of that young man, and there are steps to take to ensure you protect yourself and protect the public. And so we will never say breaking the law is a way of enforcing the law. But those officers that put their lives on the line to remove illegal guns off the street should not be demonized. They were shot. The young man was shot. The police officer was shot because that young man had an illegal gun. That is why he was shot, and that is why the police officers were shot. And we need to be clear on that. And that's the core of what we're trying to stop. Illegal guns from taking the lives of young people, and young people feeling like they need to carry illegal gun. That's what we're doing. Are we going to always get it right? I say we better get it right, because lives depend on it.
Thanks.
Sorry for the long question.